Okay, Ein Yaakov, we're in Berachot. This is called Various Aspects of the Shema and the Shemoneh Esrei. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Korcha said, why was the first section of Shema, so Hear, O Israel, placed before that of V'haya'im Shemoah? So if you are careful to pay heed to my commandments, right? He answered, so that you should first acknowledge God's absolute sovereignty by declaring that God is one, unique and indivisible, and then take upon yourself the duty of performing God's commandments, which is the theme of the second section. Why was the section of V'haya'im Shemoah placed before that of Vayomer, and God said? Because the concepts in the section of V'haya'im Shemoah apply both in the daytime and at night, particularly teach your children, etc., when you lie down and when you get up. Whereas the section Vayomer, which contains the mitzvah of Tzitzit, applies only to the day. It is obligatory only at a time when you see them, Numbers 15:39. It was taught in a Braita, Sumchos says, whoever draws out the word echad, one, heaven will lengthen his days and years. So Rabbi Acha ben Yaakov said you should draw out the dalet of echad, but not the het, because the word echad does not mean one until you have uttered the dalet. Rabbi Asi says, but make sure that you don't garble the het of echad, omitting the vowel, since that would make the word meaningless. So I want to point out that they say that actually the dalet is supposed to be like a th sound, like echad. So that's kind of like a little bit like Icelandic has that same concept, and they have a letter that actually looks like a D with like a cross, like it looks like a T and a D at the same time. But anyway, let's see. It was taught in a Braita. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Rabbi Yirmiyah was once sitting in front of Rabbi Chia ben Abba, and Rabbi Chia noticed that Rabbi Yirmiyah was drawing out the word echad very much. So he said to him, you're taking too long. Once you have acknowledged God as king over all that exists above and below, and over the four directions of the universe, no more is necessary. Rabbi Yosef said, a person should not recite the Shema when lying on his back. This implication is that the Shema should not be said in that position, but that there is no objection to sleeping on one's back. The Gemara asks, but did not Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi strongly disapprove of anyone sleeping on his back? The Gemara answers, I will tell you, when it comes to sleeping, if he turns over a little, it's all right, but reading the Shema is forbidden, even if he turns over a little, because it is an arrogant posture. The Gemara challenges, but Rabbi Yochanan did turn over a little when he read the Shema. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yochanan was an exception because he was a very heavy person and it was difficult for him to move. Ula said, a person who recites the Shema without wearing the tefillin is as though he is testifying falsely against himself. Because in the Shema he is reading, bind these words as a sign on your hand and let them be an emblem in the center of your head. Deuteronomy 6 verse 8. And there is nothing on his hand and his head. Rabbi Chia ben Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it is as if he offered a burnt offering without a meal offering and a sacrifice without a wine offering. Rabbi Yochanan also said, if a person wants to acknowledge God's absolute sovereignty in the ideal way, he should first relieve himself, wash his hands, then put on his tefillin, recite the Shema, and say the Shemoneh Esrei, and that is the perfect way of accepting God's sovereignty. Rabbi Chia ben Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, whoever relieves himself, washes his hands, puts on tefillin, recites the Shema, and says the Shemoneh Esrei, Scripture considers it as if he had built an altar and offered on it a sacrifice. As it says, I wash my hands in purity and walk around your altar, O God. Psalms 26 verse 6. And Rava said to him, don't you think that if he washed his hands, it is as if he immersed himself in a mikvah? Because it says, I will wash in purity, that is my entire body. And it does not say, I will wash my hands. Rava interprets the verse to mean, I will do the equivalent of immersing my body in purity by washing my hands. Ravina said to Rava, please, sir, look at this Torah scholar who came from Eretz Yisrael and says, if you have no water for washing your hands, you should wipe your hands with earth or with pebbles or with wood shavings. Rava replied, he's absolutely right. Does it say, I will wash in water? It says, I will wash in purity, meaning with anything that cleans. So Rabbi Chama ben Hanina said, if someone recites the Shema and is careful to enunciate every letter properly by spacing consecutive words that end with and begin with the same letter. So like if it ends with say a noon and it starts with a noon, that you pause between those words. Okay. Let's see. Ravina said to Rava, Rabbi Chama ben Hanina said, if someone recites the Shema and is careful to enunciate every letter properly, Gehinnom is cooled off for him, as it says, when the Almighty scatters the kings, it seemed like a snowstorm in Solomon, Psalms 68:15. Don't read Bafares when he scatters, read Bafaresh when one enunciates distinctly. And don't read Betzalman, meaning in Zalman, read Betzalmavet, in the shadow of death, meaning Gehenna. Thus, the meaning that emerges is, if you will space the words of Shema properly and pronounce them clearly, then the sanctity inherent in those words will cool off Gehenna. Rabbi Chama ben Rabbi Hanina also said, why are tents mentioned in conjunction with streams, as in the verse, how good are your tents, Jacob, your habitations, Israel? They stretch out like streams, like gardens by the river. They are like aloes God has planted. Numbers 24:5 and 6. This comes to tell you that just like streams bring a person from impurity to purity, so do the tents of Torah, houses of learning, lift a person from the scale of guilt to the scale of merit. Our rabbis taught we consider only three people as our fathers, Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but not the 12 sons of Jacob. And we refer to only 4 women as our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. What is the reason? Do you think because we do not know whether we are descended from Reuven or from Shimon, and that's why we cannot say with certainty that these are our fathers? But the same is true of the mothers. We don't know either whether we descended from Rachel or Leah, yet we refer to all 4 as our mothers. Why can't we refer also to the sons of Jacob as our fathers? And the Gemara answers, because up to this point we were held in a higher esteem and therefore are called fathers and mothers. From this point on, there was not the same level of esteem. And Rabbi Eliezer said, what is the meaning of the verse? I bless you all my life. I lift up my hands invoking your name. Psalms 63 verse 5. I bless you refers to the Shema. I lift up my hands invoking your name refers to the Shemoneh Esrei. And in the next verse, David says about a person who does this, or recites Shema and Shemoneh Esrei, my soul is satisfied as with fat and marrow. Psalms 63 verse 6. But that's not all. The person who recites Shema and Shemoneh Esrei inherits 2 worlds, this world and the world to come. As it says, I sing praises with songs on my lips. The plural songs alludes to the 2 worlds. Rav said, if someone greets his friend before he has said the Shemoneh Esrei, it is as if he had made him a bama, or a self-styled altar. For it says, O cease to glorify man, who has only breath in his nostrils, for by what does he merit esteem? Isaiah 2:22. Don't read bameh, by what, but read instead bama. So Shmuel interprets the verse without changing the reading of bameh, by what. By what reason do you esteem this man and not God? Thus, under no circumstances should you greet anyone before you have said the Shemoneh Esrei. Rabbi Sheshet raised an objection. We learned in a Mishnah, in the breaks between the sections of the Shema, you are allowed to greet someone out of respect and return a greeting. Now the Shema is said before the Shemoneh Esrei, and yet you are allowed to greet someone. Rabbi Abba explained that Rav and Shmuel, who forbid greeting someone before the Shemoneh Esrei, refer to a person who goes to his neighbor's house to greet him in order to ingratiate himself with him. But if he just happens to meet someone, he is allowed to greet him. Rabbi Yonah said in the name of Rabbi Zera, if someone does business before he has said the Shemoneh Esrei, it is as if he had built a bama, a self-styled altar, something that is strictly forbidden. So they said to him, do you really mean to say that it is as serious as building a bama? He replied, I only mean that it is forbidden, but it is not as bad as building a bama. What I am saying is similar to what Rabbi Edi ben Avin said in the name of Rabbi Yitzhak ben Ashian. You are forbidden to take care of your business before you said your prayers. For it says, righteousness, that is prayer, should go before him as he sets out on his way. Psalm 85:14. Rabbi Edi ben Avin further said in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak ben Ashian, if you pray first and then go out to do business, the Holy One, blessed be He, will take care of your business. For it says, if righteousness or prayer goes before Him, He will clear the way for him. Psalm 85:14.